Class 1 Chapter 4, Ethical Issues in Hospitality and Tourism Marketing. Introduction. Marketing ethics is viewed as important because of marketing's interface with many diverse stakeholders. Marketing is a key functional area in the business organization that provides a visible interface with not only customers, but other stakeholders such as the media, investors, regulatory agencies, channel members, trade associations, as well as others. It is important when addressing marketing ethics to recognize that it should be examined from an individual, organizational, and societal perspective. Examining marketing ethics from a narrow issue perspective does not provide foundational background that provides a complete understanding of the domain of marketing ethics. The purpose of this lecture is to define, examine the nature and scope, identify issues, provide a decision-making framework, and to relate these to travel and tourism. This is so because it is only recently that a few studies analyzing the impact of the ethical marketing of tourism products on consumers' perception of a tourist product that is going to be sold, as well as on the identification of the points, moments, in which ethical deviations may occur generating dissatisfaction among consumers, have been developed. Objectives. By the end of this chapter, students should be able to define marketing ethics, articulate the ethical marketing issues in hospitality and tourism, defining marketing ethics and its domain. Ethics has been termed the study and philosophy of human conduct, with an emphasis on the determination of right and wrong. For marketers, ethics in the workplace refers to rules, standards, principles governing the conduct of organizational members and the consequences of marketing decisions. Therefore, ethical marketing from a normative perspective approach is defined as practices that emphasize transparent, trustworthy, and responsible personal and organizational marketing policies and actions that exhibit integrity as well as fairness to consumers and other stakeholders. Murphy, Luxniak, Bowie, and Klein, 2005. Marketing ethics focuses on principles and standards that define acceptable marketing conduct, as determined by various stakeholders and the organization responsible for marketing activities. While many of the basic principles have been codified as laws and regulations to require marketers to conform to society's expectations of conduct, marketing ethics goes beyond legal and regulatory issues. Ethical marketing practices and principles are core building blocks in establishing trust, which help build long-term marketing relationships. In addition, the boundary-spanning nature of marketing, i.e. sales, advertising, and distribution, presents many of the ethical issues faced in business today. Both marketing practitioners and marketing professors approach ethics from different perspectives. For example, one perspective is that ethics is about being a moral individual and that personal values and moral philosophies are the key to ethical decisions in marketing. Virtues such as honesty, fairness, responsibility, and citizenship are assumed to be values that can guide complex marketing decisions in the context of an organization. On the other hand, approaching ethics from an organizational perspective assumes that establishing organizational values, codes, and training is necessary to provide consistent and shared approaches to making ethical decisions. Importance of marketing ethics. There are many reasons to understand and develop the most effective approaches to manage marketing ethics. All organizations face significant threats from ethical misconduct and illegal behavior from employees and managers on a daily basis. Well-meaning marketers often devise schemes that appear legal but are so ethically flawed that they result in scandals and legal engagements. There is therefore need to identify risks and uncover the existence of activities or events that relate to misconduct. Overbilling clients, deceptive sales methods, fraud, antitrust, and price fixing are all market ethics risks. There must be a plan and infrastructure to determine what is happening and to deal with it as soon as possible rather than covering up, ignoring, and assuming that no one will ever learn of the ethical and legal lapses. There is need to discover, disclose, expose, and resolve issues as they occur. All firms have marketing misconduct, and discovering and dealing with these events is the only way to be successful in today's complex regulatory system. Ethical issues are usually resolved through the legal system. But the negative publicity associated with an event hurts the reputation of the organization more than legal penalties that may be imposed. Although accounting fraud has been in the limelight lately, many unethical activities involve marketing activities. These activities often begin as a marketing effort that only in retrospect is revealed to unethical. Coca-Cola, for instance, following the allegations of product contamination in Belgium, was forced to lay off a number of high-level executives as a result of the troubles. The company was also accused of racial discrimination in a lawsuit against the company by 2,000 current and former African-American employees. In addition, the company has been accused of selling tap water, bottled as Dasani, claiming that the purification process is based on NASA's spacecraft technology etc. Clearly, businesses that effectively manage ethics can systematically absorb, react, and appropriately adjust to most breakdowns in conduct or decisions. The ethical mistakes of Coca-Cola have, for example, been very costly to the company. The domain of marketing ethics. Substantive domain. The relationship between a customer and an organization exists because of mutual expectations built on trust, good faith, and fair dealing in their interaction. In fact, there is an implied covenant of good faith and fair dealing, and performance cannot simply be a matter of the firm's own discretion. Ferrell, 2004. Not only is this an ethical requirement but it has been legally enforced in most countries. The implied covenant of good faith and fair dealing is to enforce the contract or transaction in a manner consistent with the parties' reasonable expectations. Courts may impose implied duties of good faith in marketing exchanges. This obligation of good faith appears to be an institutional or legal approach to enforcing ethical conduct in marketing. Marketing ethics not only requires an attempt to make ethical decisions, but also to avoid the unintended consequences of marketing activities. This requires consideration of key stakeholders and their relevant interests. Market orientation has been found as the key variable in the successful implementation of marketing strategies. But a successful marketing strategy has not always been associated with meeting the needs and demands of all stakeholders. Organizations may be successful in meeting customer needs such as low prices and growing their profits, but if business practices that are unethical, for example poor labor conditions, disregard for environment etc. Unfortunately, most approaches to market orientation select to elevate the interests of one stakeholder, the customer, over those of others. Ferrell, 2004. A new emerging logic of marketing is that it exists to provide both social and economic processes, including a network of relationships to provide skills and knowledge to all stakeholders. One difference between an ordinary decision and an ethical one is that accepted rules may not apply and the decision maker must weigh values in a situation that he or she may not have faced before. Another difference is the amount of emphasis placed on a person's values when making an ethical decision. An ethical dilemma evolves when the choice between alternative actions with moral content is unclear. Whether a specific behavior is right or wrong, ethical or unethical, is often determined by the concerned stakeholders and an individual's personal ethics. Consequently, values, judgments, and complex situations all play a critical role in ethical decision-making. Stakeholders designate the individuals, groups and communities that can directly or indirectly affect, or be affected by, a firm's activities. Marketing stakeholders can be viewed as both internal and external. Internal stakeholders include various departments, the board of directors, employees, and other interested internal parties. External stakeholders include competitors, advertising agencies, suppliers, regulators and others such as special interest groups. The various relationships should be identified and interests understood. The complexity surrounding a determination of the effects of marketing transactions on all relevant stakeholders requires the identification of stakeholders in the exchange process. The reconceptualization of the marketing concept based on a long-term, multiple stakeholder approach has also been suggested as a prescriptive model for organizational responsibility in marketing. Based on these developments, there is a need for marketing to develop more of a stakeholder orientation rather than a narrow customer orientation. Stakeholder orientation in marketing goes beyond markets,